a classy way of putting that, so
Okay, the
they're gonna come up with
not,
some.
what matters is the information gets out to everybody.
Well, the one thing I told them is I have a pet peeve about when we tape signs up on the windows and walls. It's like, I go to Woodside and it tells me which track, but it's taped up on a piece of paper that we gotta be able to do better than that. You know, so
You've got other signs outside on the wall for other reasons, so I assume that however the same way you did it for that, you would just do this in the hours. I guess you have to be able to change it though, because when hours change, you know, fix it. I had asked, remember, about the A and B tracks, the signs that say which is A and B. I saw it did go up, because remember they announced the next train to New York would be on track A, but no one knows what track A is.
Okay.
So if you look at this, the train, they were put up over here in this end where the old station house used to be, which is probably
Too far away.
It's probably the people who park there are the regular commuters who know which it is. My suggestion would be another one really outside the new waiting room and the crossover.
Now we should have signs.
That's where it should be, so you know which side you have to cross over to.
Okay.
So that's a suggestion I have. And small things, and it may sound silly, but it's what people pick up, and you spend so much money. And if you look at it throughout, you still have outlet covers. I mean, it's silly stuff, but maybe you can just go around and put them all in because it's just
Safety issue.
safety issue. People, look and say, it's been long enough now. It's been open long enough. It's not like just a week.
Is that
open.
today or?
This was end of last week. I can send it to Hector or whatever, but
Yes,
it's not in the scheme of things, it's not a huge thing, but it's a small thing that people comment on when they walk by, saying the brand new station that still doesn't have an outlet cover though. So wasn't gonna bring it up to me, but since I'm talking about wide edge anyway, those are three things I think that you need to look at. And as far as again about the hours, that should be at every station. Should have the hours posted for the waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
I think
So
also,
your notes of the field about the outlet
Central
covers.
Islip came up last meeting, also about the AB, but also about a crossover,
Yes,
because people are crossing
So-
at the grade.
they're crossing at the,
Yep.
crossing.
So a couple things that we're looking at, and haven't announced yet. We're going to add a shelter shed to the platform on the westbound side. Right now, you just have the one shelter
Yeah,
shed.
we just have it on the one side.
So we are, because we're at the end of a program, we are waiting to relocate one of the shelter sheds from, I believe it's from Brentwood, as we replace those.
Yes,
So we're gonna build foundations and we're gonna install a second shelter shed. And we hope to have that actually by the end of November in place. We are looking at trying to build a pedestrian crossing, but that's more challenging. But we are trying to look at that to see if we can add that. In, I guess, 2020 hindsight, these are probably things that should have been considered as you try to change people's habits and patterns of travel.
yeah.
But at the time when double track was first laid out, these were not things that were part of it. So, everything that I've done in this first 6 months is reallocating what little money is left in the program. So that's one of the things. It's not that if I had money, I'd say let's just go and build a pedestrian bridge there, or let's, do more. But that's where we're at. I'm trying to find a way to do something. The shelter shed we will do, because I agree we need at least a second one on the other side.
Yeah, we do.
I did ask the team to take a look at whether or not it makes any sense to move the ticket machines to the other side or not. We don't have others to just bring over, but if there's any value to that, we'll take a look at that. And then the only other thing I think I've heard from some folks, and I don't know if there's anything I could do about it, is the vendor in the ticket office.
Yeah, he's totally shut down right now.
Oh, is he shut down now?
Yeah, because nobody really stops in. They don't have the time to actually go and buy something and then
Right.
cross over the track. So they're just like, they just want to catch the train at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he hasn't been operating for a while now.
Okay. So those are some of the challenges as we look at future opportunities to improve service. How do we, if there was room, I'd move the parking lot to the other side and we had money, but unfortunately there's not.
Seems to be, again, we've discussed an increase in people bringing bicycles onto the trains. There's a policy, but never seems to be announcements made or letting people know that during rush hour they can't, I mean, it takes up a substantial amount of room in what's already overcrowded trains. So if there's a way you can
You seeing them
reinforce
in the
what
peak? You're seeing them in the
Yeah,
peak now?
yeah. People are using bikes more and more, to go from the train to work, get off the train and they bike to work, so. Unless the
So-
policy changes, but whatever the policy is, I think we need to reinforce it and let people know.
I did ask staff recently to give me an inventory of bike racks and covered bike racks, so knowing that we're trying to find ways for people to get to stations and from stations differently, I do want to look at that. I don't know if that would change anything, I mean,
They eliminated them in Hicksville. You used to have the lock boxes and bike racks and everything.
Now there's pods.
Well, that's what
that I've seen,
they had those
right.
pods where you could open it up.
I
and
heard-
sheltered.
But
They,
these are
when the
kinda new
construction
style.
started, they took them all away. Nothing's back, and then
But I-
not even a rack.
was that
to
us
lock
or the
your bike
town
up.
took them away?
Well, those bike lockers are usually on town properties, and DOT puts them on town property, but I thought if they were in shape, they can bring them back, so I have to just find out where they are.
They looked like they were.
Okay.
I've
in
heard some
fine
towns
shape.
Some
got
towns
rid
are-
of them because they were too much to manage
Nobody used them.
and lack
Yeah,
of
it could be
use.
that maybe no one used.
I don't know if that was one, but I
Yeah, I
remember
don't-
asking, and they told me I could check.
The town of Hempstead just added like 5 locations, and other towns like want to get rid of them, so it's like a,
And where they took them away from in Hicksville was like a wide sidewalk area next to that water filtration
Uh-huh.
thing. But they weren't during the construction. They didn't even use that area like for staging of anything for it. So I thought they took them away for staging of equipment, personnel. But
We could find out why. Maybe the town asked them to be taken away, I don't know.
and then I mean, while we're on Hicksville, what's the status with everything? I mean, I don't see any work is there anymore. It seems like. Is there any work that's still pending? That
I believe it's
Excuse me.
major work is done, I think.
like any of the areas that they used to have stanchioned off, and there was
It's
behind like the green tarp, everything's removed, gone.
It's essentially
you don't see
done.
anyone working on the platforms or anything. Not that I see that there's work that's needed, except for the recommendations that I made that still haven't been put in. But is everything done there? Is there going to be we're done with construction? Here's your.
It's essentially done, yeah, we haven't done an event, it's essentially done, they're doing minor things there. I know they're trying to reach a full price issue.
What's that? Oh, is that what they're trying?
Yeah,
No, Pat was calling me about something else.
this is Aaron's trying to reach you.
All right, let me call him. Excuse me.
No, sure.
I think there was a curtain wall by the escalators that they're doing at Hicksville, so I don't know if that's done.
They're not done, but essentially, for the public's purposes, the majority is done.
The elevators are open, the station's open. I think it's just punch list stuff at this point.
Is there a plan of like a grand opening or anything, or why wouldn't they take advantage of that after putting everyone through all that headache and heartache for months and years?
Actually, I'm looking, I just had something this morning, on Friday, there's gonna be some temporary closures. No, some
point out that everything looked calm?
no, some staircase,
We're gonna just blame them.
It's your fault. Didn't they just close the parking garage there?
Yes, but that's town of Ice Quebec.
It's temporary.
yeah, so they're gonna close some
Jan.
staircases or some other work still happening, so. They're not done, but.
Okay. And then where are we with, and I ask this every meeting, signage is too far apart from each other, the digital signings up on the platform, made recommendations on, you can't have 150 feet between them. Even with 20/20 vision, you can't read them. We had feedback just from ADA compliance, color blindness, you can't read now that they went to the color monitors, and you made them further, so I keep hearing they're gonna put them in, and then in the tunnel that's on the west end,
They were supposed to put it down there, they haven't done it yet.
nothing down there, and a ticket machine for down there. Nothing. I don't even see conduits as if it's on its way.
Okay. So I gotta find out about that.
We want to do meet the council, okay, so we'll run through you. We have now some openings, can we get into the next train tour? I know it's probably too late now for November, but can we get on and get that in there? Because we now have some openings, can we,
Just send me the blurb and then, so
it'll
now,
be the same one you did last time, it's fine, really, it's the same issue. It's just, there was no numbers of people, it's just, their openings.
Have we in the past, like on their social media sites, hey, want to be involved in the council, like market it
And ours are there,
in there?
you know, just use the train talk, but I think it's a good idea, once we get the final number of how many seats we probably have,
Well,
would be good, but yes.
I'm just saying,
And ours
besides
is
train
and
talk,
ours
I don't
is-
know how
and
many
ours as
people are
well.
really, because everyone throws it out because they don't want to see the on-time performance or read half the information
Yeah.
that's in there. So is that the best way to connect with riders who'd be interested in
Actually, I know,
joining
Phil,
our
I think we've
council?
converted not, well, I don't think we're printing that anymore, it's just electronic.
Yeah, that's, that one just came out the other day.
Yeah.
But kind of go on their social media sites, Twitter, where they complain, give them an avenue to now join.
Would you consider that?
It's up to them. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Let's look at some of those options, because I mean, we are actually increasing our Twitter presence too. It's small, but it's, you know, getting out there.
Well, people go on there to air their grievances about their issues, so why not?
Yep.
So if I guess just, if there's anything, if you could tell us any projects of, you know, through the rest of the year that are going on.
So,
what's going on.
You know, the ESI, we're winding down a lot of these stations. I know there's work, some impacts coming up at Sayasa Station, as we're finalizing that work. We're gonna be affecting some parking spots at Sayasa in the next few weeks. Port Jeff is winding down. I think we're doing some parking lot paving there. Farmingdale just
Are you
opened.
gonna let the SAS people know well in advance, because happens to be a very vocal community groups that are.
So I had staff today, we just met with the town to let them know what we need to do and coordinate, now we have to communicate it. You know, instead, they
Only
all.
because I'm telling you, that particular station is very vocal.
Mhm.
On social media, they're organizing, they're very, very vocal.
We have some more coming up this weekend in Port Jefferson branch, just track work, and then there's a grade crossing, Robbins Lane, they're gonna be working on some paving work at that crossing.
The speaker's still at wide end, you still can't hear when, you know, when there's music, but when they speak, you can't hear them.
Is Ronkonkoma okay this weekend? I have to come in to work.
Stay
Yeah,
away
talking
from
about should be
the
fine.
city, because it's the marathon, I got this,
I gotta be right
Are you running?
away from it.
there.
What's when the clock's back, right? Does the
Yeah.
railroad know that? Does the railroad know that?
I'll need that extra hour this week.
Lose it.
No, we can't, pull back.
Yeah, overall, I mean, we're at the end of a capital program, you know, next year, so this year's been like an unprecedented amount of work happening all at one time. So pretty much next year, we're gonna be winding down a lot of these projects, like in East Hampton, there's 2 bridges that we've been working on retaining walls, we're gonna be replacing 2 bridges there, next year. But we don't have, I don't think, too many new things starting, except for third track, that's the big one, so that's bigger than anything else, so we're kind of transitioning, that's gonna be our biggest focus on, in terms of new construction starting.
You mean now?
Like going into next year, we're actually gonna update on projects.
Well, right, support
Support.
East Side access, right, keep third track on schedule, there's gonna be those grade crossings next year. Covert and, I think Urban, right, a lot of work along the main line between Floral Park and Hicksville, right, the clearing of the right of way, in order to start that work. A lot of, we're gonna still be as aggressive as we can with replacing switches that need it, addressing drainage where we have high water tables. What else is going on?
So as you're putting together the capital, I'm sorry.
Just wanted to ask one thing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
On what you're saying. What about the Brooklyn shuttle?
I don't like the word shuttle.
I don't like it, but that's what's been called by the MTA, so that means.
Not anymore, Brooklyn Service.
I see work starting, right, it's been happening on it with the building platform.
Well, the platform app is going to be
That's been
built,
going on.
and that will give us much more flexibility in terms of, and we need that for East Side access. I know.
Will that change over happen before East Access is done, or as far as the?
That's gonna be completed
changes,
before,
or not?
that's gonna be completed before East Side access.
That's what my
And
question
then-
is. Are you gonna make the changes before East Side Access opens, even though, or is it?
I don't even know what the changes are yet, because I've challenged the team to come back with some information for me. I understand some of the thoughts on where they think we should go, but I also understand the importance of a single seat ride
Yeah,
as
I
best
took it
as
the
you
other
can.
day. I did the other day.
I'm I'm not ready to call it a scoot or a shuttle or anything of that nature. Until I have a chance to vet it all, right now, you know, I don't think I have an answer to where it's going, but the intent is to really hear the needs of all our customers, and you know, I'm not going to do something that's going to sacrifice service for everybody, but at the same time, I think Atlantic Terminal, I think Hunters Point are two valuable destinations in our system, and I don't think it's just getting to Manhattan all the time. I think Long Island Railroad serves obviously more than just getting into Manhattan, and that's where I want to try and find a solution to providing the level of service that I think a lot of people still want. You know, where's that balance? I don't know yet, but it's not just from my perspective. I'm not dead set on scoot or shuttle or not, because then it might as well be a subway.
Might be a little premature to ask this, but what's the long range for Hunters Point? Is that going to disappear once East Side Access?
I don't think so.
comes out?
I think it's got to grow. I think it's
Oh yeah, Long Island City. I mean, it's literally becoming a city. I mean, you can see the buildings going up all
no,
over
it
the
needs
place.
to be. We need to find a way to turn that into a proper terminal. That's my
That's the
belief.
redheaded stepchild of the system. I mean, you just
But
have to walk
Long
the
Island
station.
City
City
is-
Terminal is the redheaded stepchild.
You know, the shame of it is that Long Island City development is going on, and we've never been at the table to say, how can private sector support our needs? It's always been, unfortunately, you know, what you said,
Yeah.
maybe we get rid of it somewhere in the future, but I don't see how we get rid of it. I think it's a huge, I think a lot of people want to go there, and it goes right to the subways. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it's-
no, it's.
Well, do we know how many people get off at Hunters Point now and actually go to someplace in Long Island City?
A lot. I mean, when I get off there and I walk,
Yeah.
there's people are not getting right into the subway. I mean,
That's what it was.
It's a, you know.
A lot of
drop
people
in
are getting
time.
in subway. I just wonder
Right,
if we've
but a
done
lot of
if we've
people-
done counts or something recently.
It's growing so much.
And unfortunately,
there's-
the person who I'd ask isn't.
There's
died
$130
from the
million
MTA
investment
died
in Long Island
recently.
City, in Long Island City infrastructure, right, that they announced yesterday. But I didn't see any rail or transit projects in there. Is
Yep.
that something that you can pull yourself up to the table?
This property that the MTA
I
is
think
looking at.
I need to get to the table, I have to figure out how, and be better if they were trying to bring us to the table, because then they need us. Right now, I don't know how they feel about, you know, because I don't have new money to just say, hey, I want to come and do this for you. But I do want to, I need to create that vision that this is a great place now. Think of it how it could be if we had a full service, round-the-clock
Right.
terminal that,
I mean, that's a value capture to me.
Oh, it's
sort of
huge.
Screaming opportunity right there, since there's so much of that development is going up and so many people are gonna use it.
So we should talk about that same thing on Long Island, all these requests for new stations and
yeah, that's what I've been telling folks, that, you know, we need private sector support, value capture. The railroad just cannot continue to say yes to everything. And I told, you know, Long Island Business Institute that, same thing, you know, we need to be at the table at the beginning, we can't be there after the fact because we're being reactive. And that we do need to work and see how private sector can support this development. And in the reality, we need to convince them, and I think most of them understand, good mass transit is going to make their development that much more valuable. Right? So the investment in helping us do what they want us to do is crucial. And without it, we're not going to be able to do it. Because what we've done in the past is we've said yes, we give half a level of service, and then when we fail, we just get yelled at by everybody. And I'm not in a position to say I could do something, and then when we get to the opening day, it's not what they expected, and then everything is on our plate to say, well, you told us you could do it. You know, I'm just, as I'm trying to do with everything, be upfront with it right at the start, and let's lay it all out and say, how do we work together?
There is a proposal for that Sunnyside station, which was part of East Side Access. They call it Sunnyside. It's not Sunnyside. It's near Queens Plaza, station on the main line. But there's a whole ongoing debate, I think, within the railroad outlet, whatever, about if you put a station there and you stop trains on the main line, you would slow service into Penn Station. I don't know where that is now. I mean, I think it's supposed to be in the next capital program, but that's truly like a downtown Long Island City station, and as you know, the problem there is you wind up on this Queens Boulevard Bridge, you know, and if you walk, it's not a long walk to Queens Plaza, but it's not an attractive one. So I don't know if that's something looking forward that I think that should be part of talk with the city, talk with Long Island City Business Development Corporation. And I don't know where Jano is on that, but.
You know, I haven't.
But I'm telling you, I think
discussion on
that's something that's even, because of where it's located vis-a-vis Hunters. Hunters Point is located in an interesting location, that's all I have to say. You know, it's near Lisa, but
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not as close as Long Island City Station, which is across the street.
yeah, that's right. But it's located near the taller buildings, and probably near more of the where you have a commercial area.
Yeah, nice.
The problem with Long Island City is so much of it was supposed to be commercial, residential, and so much of it's just residential. So that's why I was asking that question. I'd love to know. And the person I'd ask offhand to see if there was anything done is now as well. You know, at the MTA is no longer around. So we'll have to
I was just
find
wondering,
somebody.
was that still even in the equation? I'd asked about that a year or so ago, and I think they said it was like on the back burner or off the books for right now, the Sunnyside station.
Was that part of the Sunnyside Yard?
No. It was part of East Side Access. It
Part of
still
the-
is.
Oh.
It's supposed to be the next capital program.
So segueing to the next capital program,
Mhm.
which is being developed and pulling together, what do you see on the horizon there, and what role can we play in pushing for some things that are of particular interest to the council?
Well, for sure, that central branch electrification is one of the things that will give us tremendous operational flexibility during regular service and during planned work or emergencies. That's not a huge nugget, but it's something that has been talked about for a long time and keeps getting pushed off. So I'm making that a priority. I am looking across the whole system at electrification. Something that I need to look at carefully, because I don't want to just look at it electrifying one piece. I want to see how electrifying that piece not only helps that one section, but helps the whole system. So one of the things that I would hope to do is as I electrify, can I also free up those diesel coaches to go somewhere else, right? I don't want to just electrify a certain section and still have the need diesel coaches for the rest. But Port Jeff is something I've talked about. I think a lot of the people on the Port Jeff branch go to the Ronkonkoma branch, and I think you could redistribute them back if there's a way. The Huntington Standees is an issue that's long been there, and
Lisa just gave you, this is a letter we sent to the local elected officials supporting the electrification of the Port Jefferson Ranch. Is there other areas you want us to support?
We've been getting a lot of those
We
letters.
have done that. What's that?
We've been getting a lot of those letters.
This one might look a little different than the other.
you know, one of the things as we look at this is we're going to have to, and I told them to include it in the whole project, not just a standoff. Is we need yard space, because just doing this without yards doesn't give us the flexibility to really improve service. And that's becoming more and more challenging as, you know, we hear the concerns about all the work we're doing adjacent to new development that's popped up all along our tracks. It's hard. Nobody wants us next door. At the same time, we have no place to do the work. So it's one of those challenges that we're going to find a way to overcome, because we do really want to be good neighbors, and the better we can work with communities, the better support we'll have when we try to come to them and say, you know, we want to make improvements. I mentioned earlier rolling stock is something I have to really start the procurement on. I need to get those going. We need the fleet for East Side Access, and I need fleet just in general, both electric, diesel. I need to look at dual modes, and we are tagging on to the Metro North contract as an option. Obviously, our infrastructure needs. We got a lot of stations that need work. You know, we are focused on keeping them as clean as possible. So I need to make sure that those folks have support. But accessibility is something else that I'm focused on. I really want to see if I can make all our stations ADA compliant in the 5-year program. And I've said this to some community forums. I don't think we need to wait until a station needs to be reconstructed before I can do things, because that could mean 20 years before we get to that station. I want to see if there's a way to do that across the system.
So there's about 12 stations that remain.
Mhm.
There's some that haven't come that they're funded, but there's about 12 that aren't funded that we hope to have in the capital program. And we can say the whole system is accessible.
What was the end result with Pine Line? Well, the years we've been arguing over that. Now that you've redone it, what is it? Did you remove the station house, or what?
There is no station house, so it's a new platform.
Are there ramps? 'Cause I drove by, I didn't see, but I didn't
There
stop.
should be ramps, and they have shelters on the ramps. I mean, they have shelters on the platform, like shelter sheds kind of thing.
The other thing that, not necessarily part of the program, but I do want to see where there's opportunity for, you know, other revenue streams to support the program. You know, because I think value capture is something that, even for some of these other projects, we can start talking about with areas.
We had discussed years ago, and I'm not sure, it's a theory that the railroad had always been opposed to, but, you know, there are other areas like in Metro North where next to the station platform, the waiting room, there'd be a Dunkin' Donuts there right next to it. And Dunkin' Donuts would take over, taking responsibility for the restroom and all those kind of things, takes away from the railroad. They were opposed to that years ago, and we've discussed that. Is there any way of just rethinking that kind of a partnership?
Yeah, every
so
time
that-
we've tried it
Isn't that
before,
union?
and there's been resistance in some communities. So we're actually right now there's an RFP out. I think it's 5 stations, like Hewlett, Kew Gardens, and 3 other stations for that we want somebody to come in and say we'll put a business here, and then we'll keep the waiting rooms open for the customers, but then it'll be a coffee shop or something else. So there's an RFP off now, and we'll see what the interest is. I mean, already
That'd be a good
for
pilot program, definitely.
We should do that.
for example,
Belmont
offhand in
Brewery,
Hewlett,
Petrol
there's
thing.
a local little diner thing across the street. So they already complained to the town. They don't want a Starbucks because it's gonna steal business from them. So, I mean, Starbucks hasn't necessarily bid on it yet, so we don't have it. But
Phil, is East New York on your radar screen at all for the
Yes.
capital program?
Yes,
Yes, that's great.
absolutely, as needs.
We've been talking about that
So we've
for a
been talking
while.
about that.
Oh, good, that's good to hear.
Are you looking at any cover transfer to the L train? That's,
I'm sorry?
but I know that there was, covered transfer that would get it from the subway to the railroad better, at East New York, Nostrand.
I don't think we've been involved in any.
No,
Talks about
okay.
that.
Yeah, that hasn't come across.
I'll get some more information.
If you have, send it to us, we'll take a look.
You just reminded me, for next year, there's 2 other stations gonna be accessible. It's gonna be Nostrand is gonna be completed,
Okay.
and Murray Hill is gonna have elevators we're building now, so.
Any tie-in
It's
with
a
the
busy
transit, we're
stop.
talking about the new fares, the cards, instead of the Metro cards and other stuff?
We're part of the new fare payment program.
So we'll work with, your monthly ticket and.
What I've been stressing, and obviously when I was at headquarters, Al Poutre, who's handling that, was working for me. You know, it started out as a transit procurement, commuter railroads got added to it. And my big concern, and now that I'm at the railroad, is even a bigger concern, is that, you know, the ability for conductors to collect the fares quickly enough, you know, the new fare payment can't slow us down. And as much as the e-tix is a great thing, you know, customers do say, oh, you know, let me get it, or let me buy it, and it is slowing things down. So my fear is that we drive them all to this, and it makes it even harder. So I've been pushing to make sure that there's technology out there that can, you know, aid conductors in electronically knowing if they've paid or not. There's devices. It's not the easiest to do, but I don't want to just settle for a solution for transit that makes it harder for us. So we're working on, even if it ends up being a refillable, you know, plastic credit card type ticket that has a chip in it that's tied to the payment program. I want it so our conductors can readily know that the payment's been made just as fast as they do now with a paper ticket hanging from someone's neck. So we're still looking at technology, and at the end of the day, that's, you know, having one place to pay for all your fares is great, but it can't be, I think, the only solution. I don't think it works for us unless we were to find a way to invest and you know, put gates everywhere, but that's not happening. So in an open system, we need to use technology, and there's ways to track where people got on, where people got off, and how to appropriately, you know, charge fares for that. So I'm still pushing on that. And I don't have an answer to it yet, but I've not given up on making sure that it doesn't hurt the railroads in terms of how fares are collected and how customers' experience is.
Mark, you had a question about the cameras on the M9s, right?
Well, we never got a response to our letter, so, you know, we might give us a written response to our letter.
So that got,
Not on the M9, not the M9s.
The ones that are being retrofitted now, that's.
Oh.
Well, it doesn't matter actually, it's just cameras everywhere. How is this information used, how's it kept? If someone asked for it, what's the response, I think is the question, right?
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically but there's a lot of questions about, you know, all this information is being collected in the cameras.
So some of the correspondence has been held up because I didn't like the way we were responding. I hate some of these form letters. I said to the team, if you got this response, would you be happy? And so I really slowed down a lot of letters, to be honest. This one, I know Hector's been trying to get some answers. Security cameras, and correct me if I'm wrong, are really only viewed if necessary by the security folks. They eventually erase them. We're not keeping them historically. But if there's issues, and do you know the time frame on how long they're kept, Hector?
I'm looking at it right now.
And we'll get you a written response, Mark. But they're not, put it this way, not everyone in the railroad has access to them. I don't even have access to them. It's only the security folks, and it's only if there's an issue that's reported that we want to go back and observe whether someone got hurt, whether it was an incident, an assault, and that's the only way they're being used right now. And that's the ones that are going in the camera, that's the ones going in the stations. So for instance, if we have an issue and there's crowding on the platforms, you know, yeah, the security folks will allow that to be called up, and they can see that. But we're not keeping these images more than, did you find the answer to that?
Roughly 30 days, I believe it is.
Right, because we don't want to start storing records like that.
And again, no sound, right?
Yeah, no, it's no sounds.
Because that's what people are asking. You know, are you like taping what they're saying, and they're talking on the phone, they're talking to their neighbors, and are you listening? You know, is Big Brother really out there? They want to know.
Yeah, but it's technology
Legally,
where
you
they
know,
could read lips, so don't worry about it.
Legally,
I
you
was
know,
gonna
they
say
can only
that.
one party.
We can read the text, we can zoom in on their text.
Zoom in on
Nobody's
Policy,
talking.
what the policy is.
Nobody's talking anyway,
What are they
there's nothing to
tweeting?
listen to,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
we hear everybody talking on every train.
That's true, but it's not being recorded.
The ability is there,
Right.
is it enabled or not? But legally, you only need one.
Yeah, they do not
Party
have
consent.
audio capability, it's just video.
But the policy is about 30 days, right? No more than that, or somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
Touchy question, with all the cameras, but is there a camera in the engineer's cab? Because I know that was an
Yeah.
issue.
That was the
unions
original
were-
reason.
That was a. I think
That was one of the original reasons. I know that the unions weren't very happy about that. The reason that I bring that up is because one of my sore points, ever since I've been on the council, has been, you know, trains half off the platform or first car off the platform and stuff like that. And there's no way for you, back in Jamaica, to know what's going on, because it's pretty much a self-reporting thing. You're not gonna know, but if you have a camera, you might be able to tell, hey, that engine's